Hello, everybody. This is Zach's at it again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and I am honored to be here with the principal trombonist and marketing director of the Winston Salem Symphony Orchestra, Brian French. Brian, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're here because I attended the fabulous show of the Winston-Salem Symphony Orchestra, Simply the Best, the music of Tina Turner, on Saturday, April the 5th, and it was an absolutely amazing show that I will never forget. I first heard of the Winston-Salem Symphony Orchestra um, in 2023 when you all did a tribute to my favorite male singer, Mr. Phil Collins.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out about it the day after it happened. So we were talking earlier about Wytheville not being a nearby town. Well, when I missed that program in February of 2023, I had to travel all the way to Raleigh to see it. So, I'm just glad I got to see it because it was an amazing program, and I know you all did an amazing job with it. And I got to interview the conductor who conceived that program, Mr. Stuart Chaffetz, who is a wonderful and immensely talented guy. So when my friend who's on the mailing list of the Winston-Salem Symphony Orchestra said, we're doing the music of Tina Turner at Winston-Salem Symphony, I could not miss it. So I contacted Joe Bolenball, and he was kind enough to invite me to review the show, which was a great honor. And then when I saw the show, I knew it would be good, but I had no idea it was going to be as good as it was. It was better than Phil Collins, and that's tough to top because that was a great show. But
well, thank you for that.
But it was better than the Phil Collins program, and I have gotten to where I've attended two symphony shows, and I've gotten to where I just love the symphonic tributes, and I love the the uh, the fact that symphonies are giving tribute to pop and rock artists. I think that is. Would you consider that a relatively new thing for orchestras, or?
It's if you speak in terms of the amount of time that orchestras have been on the planet, then yes, it is a relatively new thing. Tribute artists, tribute acts with symphony orchestra started in I'd say the mid to late 90s. Mm-hmm. So it's been almost 30 years that these things have been catching on. They've really become popular in the last 15 to 20 years. For a number of years, a number of seasons in succession here in Winston-Salem, we featured a fabulous touring ensemble called the Jeans and Classics Band, who are a Canadian ensemble, and they have a number of different shows covering a number of different artists. They have a roster of, I think, maybe 20 or so singers who specialize in the various musics of different artists all the way down from the 50s and 60s all the way through current day, and they travel that one around. And in post-pandemic, we've been trying out a few different artists as well. The folks who did the Tina Turner show are called Spot On Entertainment. Mm-hmm. They're based in New York City, and they also have a number of different concerts, a number of different programs that they tour around from orchestra to orchestra throughout the United States. And we are actually having them back in May of 2026. On May 9th, they'll be bringing their Wizard of Oz and Defying Gravity show, which is a fun show that collects all of the different music from all of the different iterations of the Wizard of Oz tale. So that'll be fun one to see. Scott Coulter, who you may remember from the Tina Turner show, will be returning. I'm not sure who the other two singers are exactly quite yet for that particular show, but expect higher energy. Expect the same kind of high energy that you got out of the Tina Turner show on Defying Gravity for sure.
So as a player with the Winston-Salem Symphony Orchestra, when somebody says we're going to do a Tina Turner show, is that exciting for you? What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, it is. And to tell you the truth, I was really excited about the Phil Collins show that we did a couple of years ago that you alluded to, because we get to work with different artists who are, they are not violin soloists, although there are great violin soloists, and we like to work with them too. We like to hear the popular things too. You may remember Tamika Lawrence from the Tina Turner show. Just fantastic voice, fantastic musicianship, fantastic stage presence and artistry. There's a reason she has the accolades and the Grammy Awards and the I'm sure she's going to get a Tony at some point soon. That sort of thing. She's just that great energy. And when we do these pops shows, it's a different kind of energy that our musicians can latch onto and deliver for that night. Most people don't realize this, that when we do these pops and tribute shows, we get one rehearsal. And it's usually just a quick run-through of all the charts, and then we come back 2 hours later and play the concert down. And so it's that kind of energy, basically, that we're able to really soak into, which is a different kind of energy than rehearsing a classical concert for 4 days leading up to the concert. We have to be on from 3 p.m. to the concert end at 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm. And let me stress to you, my two favorite artists in the world, male and female, are Phil Collins and Tina Turner. That you don't get any higher in my opinion than those two. That's why I would travel to Winston-Salem or even Raleigh to hear the orchestral tributes to them, and it was well worth it to do both. But what I was expecting when I went to the Phil Collins show was just the orchestra playing his music instrumentally, and they had singers there, and in my opinion, some of them could have been a bit parochial, I guess is the word, because I'm very critical, and nobody's gonna touch Phil or Tina, in my opinion. So when I went to this show, I said, "Oh, right, they're gonna do a tribute to Tina Turner. They're not gonna hit it, but they're gonna do a tribute to Tina Turner, and they're gonna try. Okay, I'm gonna give them a chance." So I go to this show, and now let me just say that you can't. Nobody can touch Tina Turner but Tina Turner. Tina Turner was my first concert when I was 12 years old.
Oh, wow, really?
And she set the bar. During the show, Michelle Merrill talked about they flew her into Winston-Salem because Hanes Pantyhose was the sponsor for that tour. And,
yes.
And they flew her into Winston-Salem and they had the lady that said, "I was there, I was at the concert." I was not at that particular show, but I went to the one in Charlotte that was just a couple of weeks before that, and it is something. It places an indelible mark on your brain. I said to the lady in front of me, I was born with cerebral palsy, so I always and I don't have 1 ounce of musical talent. I wish I could sing, even carry a tune. My wife is a great singer and even does a great Tina Turner tribute on her own, but
Ah,
I have absolutely no musical talent. So I relied on music to let my imagination take me to places that my life would not go, and
okay.
and I'm here to tell you that as close as I ever came out of that chair to walking is when Tina Turner come out on that stage. It had more healing powers than a Benny Hinn revival. I'm here to tell you. So I was, that left an indelible mark. So somebody doing a tribute to Tina Turner, the bar is pretty high. But let me
Yes.
tell you. Um, so I was, this very young Caucasian kid who couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, but wanted to sing all these Tina Turner songs. And then here comes Scott Coulter, who comes out on the stage and does those songs just exactly as I wish I could have done them. And so he had my full envy and my full admiration. As I said in the review, leaving those of us who couldn't carry a tune in a bucket filled with a combination of jealousy and endless admiration. The way he could carry a note and sing those soulful R&B, African American tones. He did that just absolutely beautifully.
Well, Scott he's kind of a chameleon. He is able to. It's not as if he's impersonating these voices.
No.
He's able to bring the same kind of energy and enthusiasm that the original voices had. Like, he's got a number of different shows that are they run the spectrum of musical talent from the last 50 years or so. He has a country show. He has a couple of different disco shows. He has a Bette Midler show. He's got all of these kinds of shows, and he's able to bring he's able to bring an originality and a uniqueness to each one of them, for sure, because it's not the original artist, but he captures the kind of experience that you would expect from the original artist in every one of these shows.
I would love to see his Bette Midler show. That sounds great. Bette's another one of my favorites.
Yeah. He's Scott is originally, I think, from the cabaret sort of style of music in New York, and so he's got to cover that kind of material, but it's all of these other things that he's able to do as well. It's crazy the amount of talent this guy has.
But he was unbelievable, and I loved what he said about, the biography meaning so much, the Tina Turner's autobiography meaning so much to him, and being a part of his life, because it was certainly a part of my life as well, to know that that amazing energy that she brought. I mean, when she did Proud Mary, no one would know she was suffering, and she was living in a mental and physical prison. I mean, I think actual prison would have been kinder to her than what she was living. But
she's very, very inspiring for sure.
But what I really was impressed about is that album that Tina Turner was promoting when she was in Winston-Salem on July 2nd, 1997 at the Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and 2 weeks earlier at Blockbuster Pavilion in Charlotte, June 20th, 1997. The album that she was promoting was called Wildest Dreams, and because of what that album meant to me, because it was my first concert, it's one of my favorite albums. I listened to it on regular rotation. And,
Oh, wow.
and I was so happy to see that they did numbers from that album, including the theme from GoldenEye and and Missing You. And Scott did John Waite's Missing You on the. He was just on the piano with John Boswell, and it was hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Hauntingly.
There were no. Obviously, there were no trombones on that particular one, so I could just sit in the back row and listen to that and experience it just as if I was sitting out in the audience. And it was dripping.
It's very emotional. It really is.
Yeah.
And then you have, as you said, Grammy winner Tamika Lawrence, who had the hair and was doing the pony walk. She was not impersonating Tina, but she was there to bring the energy. She was there to bring the Tina Turner energy to the show.
She was certainly channeling. That's for true.
and boy did she. But she was also, the thing that got me was, I mean, she had the growl and the provocativeness, I guess is the correct word to say, of the Tina Turner show, of Tina Turner. But she was also very funny. She was like, when you get to introduce What's Love Got to Do with It, she said they would always use that as the advice for when she was dating losers. And she said, but he's such a talented artist. And he said, but he's driving your car. So, she had those lines ready, and she was very funny. And well prepared. I mean, well prepared in advance. Had done her homework beyond just learning the charts. Learning the life. Yeah,
learning the life.
And you could tell that she knew Tina Turner before she ever started. She didn't have to study a lot. She knew Tina Turner before she ever stepped out on that stage. Because she's definitely been a part of her life. And she is a 2-time Grammy winner. And then we have Broadway performer Shalea Atkinson.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, a Broadway performer, she's going to, really put what I call the Annie spin on a rock and roll on a rock and roll song. But that was not the case. She was a Broadway singer that had an edge to her voice that definitely qualified her to do rock and roll songs like Tina Turner.
Yes.
So,
and it was surprising. It's for the first half of the one rehearsal that we had for this, artists will usually save their voice, obviously, for the concert, and when they do this, it's called marking, and she was marking, and actually Tamika was as well for the first couple of tunes that they rehearsed with us. And we're like, okay, well, but then they let themselves out, and both of them, just with these humongous voices and the right kind of voice. You alluded to a couple of times the growl that Tina Turner had in her voice as well. This kind of music requires that, and both of those artists had that.
Yeah, you have to have that if you're going to do Tina Turner, and that's a very distinct thing to have. Very few people are blessed with that.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of singers who want to have the rasp that Tina Turner does, but very few people do. Mm-hmm. And it was, needless to say, they exceeded my expectations. I was maybe a little too ready to be critical, but they exceeded my expectations. So
we're glad to hear that for sure.
It was more than worth the trip to come to Winston Salem, and I do hope that you all will have me back, because not only was the performance great, but when you need handicapped seating and when you need a little bit of extra care, shall we say, than just going in and taking a seat, sometimes people are not always ready and willing to accommodate. Well, the people at the R.J. Reynolds Auditorium went out of their way to make sure that I was comfortable. They would come and ask me if I needed anything. And I never had to ask anybody for anything, and everybody was just so nice. It was as though they were expecting me and I belonged there, and I'm very, very grateful for that kind treatment. You don't get that too often.
Well, I'm especially glad to hear that, and to hear that you were so welcomed. That's something that we want to always put forth, for sure, and with any of our venues. But the Reynolds crowd are really fantastic, and they're so gracious, and we're very, very lucky to have them.
And I realize that I've done most of the talking yet again on this podcast.
It's your podcast.
Rather than let my guests talk, which I'm very honored to have a member of the Winston Salem Symphony Orchestra on my podcast. I would like for you to know that. But there's one more point that I wanted to bring about about the show, and that is something, the song Private Dancer, that brings, I can remember, my sister's 6 years younger than me, and I can remember playing the Private Dancer album while playing outside with my sister, playing it on cassette tape, by the way. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
And when that saxophone solo hits in Private Dance, that to me is the epitome of relaxation. When I get outside and in the sunshine and I get relaxed, that saxophone solo always runs through my head for some reason. And so I'm, again, very particular about how that is executed. So I researched and researched and researched to try to find the man's name. His name is Ron Rudkin, the saxophone soloist on Private Dancer. He hit it dead on.
Ron is fabulous. He is usually our saxophone soloist, but more importantly than that, he is also a member of our clarinet section, and has been for, I think coming up on 45 years. Ron is the former and recently retired instructor of jazz at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts here in Winston-Salem, and has for many years also had his own wedding ensemble that plays not just weddings but other events, furniture market, things like that here in town, and has an expandable. He can do a 4-piece ensemble, or he could do a 12-piece ensemble. But be that as it may, he's an extremely well-respected saxophonist here in North Carolina and abroad as well. So yeah, anytime we have one of these pop shows and Ron's on sax, it's going to be good.
Yeah, and you can tell just by that one riff, you can, because if you hit that, you you have my eternal respect, and Mr. Rudkin nailed that one, and
several times that night.
Yes, and also, I think my favorite number in the show was Disco Inferno, because the only time you hear Tina Turner doing that is on the "What's Love Got to Do with It" soundtrack for the film that was based on her life. That became one of my very favorite Tina Turner tracks of all time, because It's Disco Inferno, and I'm a nut. I'm an absolute nut for a good horn section, and as you can already tell, and you all must have had a lot of fun with that song.
Oh, we sure did. The whole book was fun, but yeah, I mean, it's Disco Inferno, for crying out loud, and
right.
that's always gonna bring some smiles back in the back row. Most of these, I would say 99% of these kinds of pop concerts that travel with their own book, the charts are not only very well put together and very easily readable by whatever orchestra is playing them, but they sound good. And I think the whole book that Scott brought just sounds good. He's got a fantastic orchestrator, a fantastic arranger, and I'm looking forward to playing the one in May. But anytime we get a book like this, it's a lot of fun, especially for those of us in the back row.
So was this show the brainchild of Scott?
Yes. Yeah. This is his thing, and he collected the entire list and had it orchestrated, and he takes care of all the licensing and so on and so forth. We don't have to worry about any of that. It's what we call a package show, and it's his baby, one of several.
Well, do you think you might get his Bette Midler show sometime?
It's possible. I know that Michelle is already starting to think. Michelle Merrill, that is, our music director, is already starting to think forward to like the 27-28 season, 28-29 season. It's already programming out that far. Kind of have to do that for guest artists as well.
Sure.
So that we're able to secure their dates. So I don't know what she has on the horizon, but I know she's going to be wanting to bring Scott and his crew back as long as she can.
Well, I tell you, if you get Bette Midler, if you get Phil back, and you get Tina back, I will be there anytime. I really had the greatest time. I want to ask you really quickly about your history with music and where you grew up and joining the Winston Salem Symphony and all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, I grew up in Greensboro, here in North Carolina, and my dad was a middle school band director here in Winston-Salem. So music was already in the family, and was, I guess it was probably about my sophomore year of high school where I kind of decided I wanted to do this for a living. I went away to Chicago to Northwestern University and got a couple of degrees there, and while I was up there, was a member of the Chicago Symphony's Training Orchestra, the Civic Orchestra of Chicago. And my first job after that was with the as principal trombonist of the Arkansas Symphony, where I was for a year and a half, and then met a girl who was back here. So I moved back to North Carolina in 2000, and not a couple of months after I moved back, I saw an ad for principal trombone opening in the Winston-Salem Symphony and took the audition and won it, and that's what I've been doing.
Well,
many of us play in both the Winston and Greensboro symphonies, and our brass section is one of those who plays in both symphonies. So we have this unique opportunity for people who play in orchestras of this size to be playing together for as often as we do throughout a year. We get to play together as a group twice as much as many of our nationwide colleagues get to do so. So we're fortunate in that respect.
Well, it is a gift to us and a gift to the area that you have brought what you have to it with your talents and your gregarious nature. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. And
likewise, Zach. Thank you.
And I do hope that I get to talk with you again soon when I do another show.
All right. Well, we hope you come down.
Anytime. I would be happy to anytime I can. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care now.